Hey, welcome back to Why I Hate Being a Wife. And today we need to talk about something that nobody warned me about when I got married. The loneliness. Not the loneliness of being alone. I'm never alone. I'm surrounded by my family constantly. The loneliness of having lost myself and having lost my friendships and having lost the people who knew me before I became wife and mom. So, let me ask you something. When's the last time you saw your friends? Not couple friends. Not your husband's friends' wives. Not the other moms from school. Your friends. The ones who knew you before marriage. The ones you used to talk to for hours. The ones who saw you as just you, not as someone's wife or someone's mother. If you're struggling to answer that question, yeah, me too. Today, we're going to talk about how I lost all my friends when I got married, how that happened, why it happened, and what that loss has cost me. Here's the thing about losing your friends. When you get married, it doesn't happen all at once. There's no dramatic falling out, no big fight, no moment where you consciously decide to let those friendships go. It's a slow fade. It starts during wedding planning. You're busy, you're stressed, you're consumed with planning and coordinating and making decisions. Your friends are still there, but you are less available. Then you get married and you're settling into married life, combining households, figuring out routines, navigating living with someone full time. You're still busy, still less available. Plans start to feel like too much effort. Want to grab coffee? Sounds exhausting when you're already overwhelmed. Girls' night? Sounds fun, but you're too tired to actually go through with it. You start saying maybe next time more often. You start canceling plans not because you don't want to see them, but because you literally don't have the energy. And slowly, gradually, invisibly, the friendships fade. It's been weeks since you texted, then months. Then you can't remember the last time you actually talked beyond liking each other's social media posts. And suddenly it's been years. Years since you really connected. Years since you had a real conversation. Years since they knew what was actually going on in your life. And you look around and realize, my friends are gone. I lost them. And I don't even know exactly when it happened. So let's talk about why this happens. Why marriage kills friendships, especially for women. First, your schedule is no longer just yours. You can't make spontaneous plans anymore. Want to grab dinner tonight? Isn't simple. It's let me check with my husband. It's coordinating schedules. It's negotiating. It's complicated. And even when you make plans in advance, there's always the possibility something will come up. His work thing, family obligation, something with the house, and you're the one who has to cancel, who has to apologize, who has to reschedule. Eventually, your friends stop asking because you're never available, because plans with you are always complicated, because it's easier to make plans with people who can just say yes. Second, your energy is completely depleted. You're managing a household now. You're carrying the mental load. You're doing all the invisible labor. You are exhausted. And friendship requires energy. It requires being present, being engaged, being a good listener. It requires emotional availability. But you don't have energy left. You are giving everything to managing your household, your marriage, your family if you have kids. There's nothing left for friendships. So even when you do see your friends, you're not fully there. You are distracted. You are tired. You're not the friend you used to be. Third, your life is different now. Your single friends are living completely different lives. They are dating, going out, traveling, focused on their careers. And you're managing a household, thinking about furniture and mortgages and coordinating schedules. You don't have as much in common anymore. The conversations feel harder. You are in different life stages, different priorities, different daily experiences. And it's not that you don't care about each other, but the shared experience that bonded you is fading. And maintaining connection across different life stages takes intentional effort. And you don't have energy for intentional effort. Fourth, your friendships become couple friends. Your social life shifts to hanging out with other couples, usually his friends and their partners. Your individual friendships take a backseat to couple socialization. And couple friendships are fine, but they are not the same. You are not yourself in couple friendships. You are the wife. You are part of a unit. You are performing the good wife role while making small talk with your husband's friend's wife, who you wouldn't have chosen as a friend on your own. Your individual identity in those friendships doesn't exist. You're just the wife. And that's not the same thing as being actually known. Fifth, if you have kids, it gets even harder. Now you don't just have no time and no energy. You also can't leave easily. You need childcare. You need to coordinate schedules. You need to make sure someone's watching the kids. And often, that someone is you. Because finding childcare is complicated and expensive. And you feel guilty leaving your kids to go do something for yourself. So you don't. You stay home and your friendships fade even more. And here's the kicker. While all of this is happening to your friendships, his friendships stay intact. His guys are still around, still gaming on weekends, still texting in the group chat, still getting together regularly. He didn't lose his friends when he got married. Just you. Part of losing your friendships is about losing your identity outside of being a wife. Your friends knew you, not as someone's wife, not as someone's mother, just as you. They knew what you were like before marriage changed you. They knew your dreams, your personality, your sense of humor, your interest, your whole self. They saw you as a complete person, not as a role. But when you lose those friendships, you lose the people who remember who you were, who see you as more than just wife and mother, who know your history. And that's a huge loss, because without those friendships, your entire identity becomes tied up in your roles. Wife, mother if you have kids. Your name might even be different now. Nobody knows the old you anymore. Nobody remembers. Nobody sees you as anything other than the role you are currently playing. And that's lonely. It's isolating. It's a loss of self. Your friends weren't just social connections. They were mirrors reflecting back to you who you are. They were witnesses to your life. They were the people who knew you. And without them, you're alone in a way that's hard to describe. You are surrounded by family, but nobody actually knows you. Nobody sees you. Nobody remembers who you were before you became this. Let's talk about the loneliness of losing your friends. You can be married and deeply lonely. You can be surrounded by family and feel completely isolated because your husband, as much as you might love him, can't be everything. He can't be your partner and your best friend and your emotional support system and your entire social life. That's too much pressure on one person. That's not healthy. That's not sustainable. You need friends. You need people outside your marriage. You need relationships that aren't tied to your role as wife or mother. But you don't have them anymore. You lost them. And that loneliness is profound. It's lying in bed at night wishing you had someone to talk to about what you are going through. Someone who would understand. Someone who wouldn't judge you for being frustrated with your marriage or exhausted by motherhood. It's having something funny happen and realizing you don't have anyone to text about it. Your friends used to be the people you shared everything with. Now you don't even know what's going on in their lives, and they don't know what's going on in yours. It's feeling like you're drowning and having nobody to tell because your husband is part of the problem, and your family would judge you, and your couple friends are more his friends than yours, and your real friends are gone. It's feeling like you're going through this alone, like nobody sees you, like nobody knows the real you anymore. And maybe that sounds dramatic. Maybe it sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. The loneliness of losing your friends while becoming a wife is real. It's isolating in a way that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. You're not lonely for lack of people around you. You are lonely for lack of people who actually know you, who see you, who remember who you were, and still see that person inside the role you're now playing. And if you have kids, your friendships shift to mom friends. You meet other moms at school pickup, at the park, at activities. You exchange numbers, you coordinate playdates, you text about kid stuff. And mom friends are great. They're valuable. They understand what you're going through in ways your childless friends don't. But mom friends aren't the same as real friends. Because with mom friends, you're not fully yourself. You're mom. That's the identity. That's the connection. You talk about the kids, about parenting struggles, about schedules, and schools and activities. But you don't talk about you. Not really. Not the way you used to with your real friends. You don't talk about your dreams, your fears, your marriage struggles, your identity crisis, your resentment, your exhaustion, your anger. Because that's not what mom friends are for. That's too heavy. That's too real. You're supposed to keep it light. Commiserate about the challenges of parenting, but not actually go deep. So you have these surface level friendships with other moms, and they're nice. They're helpful. They're better than nothing. But they're not real friendships. Not in the way your old friendships were. They don't know you. They know mom you, and that's not the same. And here's what makes this even more infuriating. While your friendships fade and disappear, his friendships stay intact. His guys are still around, still texting, still planning game nights or golf outings or whatever it is they do. He still has his social life, his identity outside the marriage, his people who know him as him, not just as your husband or the kids' dad. And he doesn't have to work for it the way you would. His friendships just continue. Because society doesn't expect men to sacrifice their social lives when they get married. Men are allowed to have guy time. It's normal. It's expected. It's healthy. But when women want girls' time, that requires negotiation, planning, guilt, making sure everything is covered while you're gone, justifying why you need time away. His friendships are treated as important. Yours are treated as optional. He maintains his entire social identity. You lose yours. And that's not fair. That's not equal. He didn't have to choose between being a husband and being himself. But you had to choose between being a wife and having friends. Or, actually, you didn't even get to choose. It just happened. Society made a choice for you. Let's talk about the permission dynamic that makes maintaining friendships so much harder for wives than for husbands. When he wants to go out with his friends, he just goes. I'm meeting the guys for drinks Friday. That's it. That's the announcement. He doesn't ask permission. He doesn't negotiate. He doesn't make sure everything is covered at home. He just goes. But when you want to go out with friends, it's all production. You don't technically ask permission, but you kind of do. Would it be okay if I went out with Sarah on Saturday? You are asking. You are seeking approval. You are making sure it's okay. You have to arrange childcare if you have kids. You have to make sure your husband knows what needs to happen while you are gone. You have to coordinate schedules. You have to plan meals. You have to make sure nothing falls apart in your absence. You can't just go. You have to manage your own absence. You have to make sure everything still runs smoothly even when you're not there. And if something goes wrong while you're gone, that's on you. You didn't plan well enough. You didn't set him up for success. You should have known better. So going out with friends becomes more work than it's worth. The logistics are exhausting. The guilt is overwhelming. The coordination is complicated. It's easier to just stay home, and eventually you do. And your friendships fade even more. Meanwhile, he's out with his friends, no guilt, no complicated logistics, no making sure everything's covered. He just goes, and everything's fine. That's inequality. That's why your friendships died and his didn't. Let's talk about the guilt that comes with trying to maintain friendships as a wife. You feel guilty for taking time away from your family, even though your husband takes time away all the time without guilt. You feel guilty for spending money on yourself when that money could go to the family, even though he spends money on his hobbies without guilt. You feel guilty for wanting time with friends when you should be grateful for the family time you have. You feel guilty for needing social connection outside your marriage. Like wanting friends means your husband isn't enough. Like needing more than just family time means you are ungrateful. You feel guilty when you are out with friends and thinking about what needs to be done at home. Guilty that you are not there. Guilty that you are enjoying yourself while your family is home without you. The guilt is constant. The guilt is suffocating. The guilt makes it impossible to actually enjoy the rare times you do see your friends. And the guilt is gendered. Your husband doesn't feel guilty going out with his friends. Society doesn't make him feel guilty. Nobody's questioning whether he should be home with his family instead. But you're supposed to feel guilty. You're supposed to put your family first, always. Wanting time for yourself is selfish. Needing friendships outside your family means you're not devoted enough. So you feel guilty and you stop going out and you lose your friends. And nobody acknowledges that your loneliness is a direct result of the guilt society heaped on you for wanting a social life. Let's talk about what you actually lost when you lost your friends. You lost your support system, the people who would listen without judgment, who would validate your feelings, who would tell you you are not crazy. You lost your social identity, the version of yourself that exists outside your family roles. The you who is funny, interesting, complex, multifaceted. You lost your history. The people who remember who you were before, who saw you grow, who knew your journey. You lost your perspective. Friends provide outside perspective on your life and relationships. Without them, you lose that external viewpoint. You lost your escape. Time with friends was time away from your responsibilities. Time to be just you. Time to laugh and relax and not be needed. You lost your mirror. Friends reflect back to you who you are. Without them, you lose sight of yourself. You lost your joy. Friendships bring joy, laughter, connection. Without them, life becomes heavier, lonelier. grayer. You lost yourself because without the people who knew you as you, without the relationships where you're just yourself, you lose track of who that self even is. That's what losing your friends cost you. And it's expensive. And maybe you're thinking, well, I can make new friends. I can rebuild. And sure, theoretically, yes. But let me tell you how hard that is. Making friends as an adult is hard. Making friends as a married adult is harder. Making friends as an exhausted wife or mother with no time or energy is nearly impossible. Where do you even meet people? You're not in school anymore. You're not going to bars or social events. You're home. You're working. You're managing your household. And even when you do meet potential friends, other wives, other moms, women at work, building actual friendship takes time and energy you don't have. Friendship requires showing up consistently. It requires making plans and keeping them. It requires emotional availability and vulnerability and effort. And you're already giving all your time, energy, and emotional availability to your family. There's nothing left for building new friendships. Plus, you're not even sure who you are anymore. You've lost yourself so much that you don't know what you'd even talk about with new friends. What do you have to offer? What makes you interesting outside of being someone's wife or mother? You used to be interesting. You used to have things going on. You used to be a whole person with hobbies and opinions and stories. Now you're exhausted and boring and consumed with household management. Who wants to be friends with that? The self-doubt makes it even harder. And here's the other thing. New friends don't know the old you. They only know this version. The tired, depleted, role-playing version. They don't remember who you were before. They don't see the person you used to be underneath the exhaustion. They just see the exhaustion. And you want friends who remember, who knew you when you were fully yourself. But those friends are gone. So you're lonely for something you can't get back. I lost my friends when I got married, not because they stopped caring, not because we had a falling out, not because they were bad friends, but because I stopped having the space to be anything other than a wife. I stopped having time, energy, availability. I stopped being able to show up for friendships. I stopped being able to maintain them. And society normalized this. Society treats it as inevitable that women lose themselves and their friendships when they get married. But it's not inevitable. It's a choice that society makes for us. It's the expectation that women sacrifice everything, including their social identities and support systems, while men sacrifice nothing. My husband didn't lose his friends when he got married. His social life didn't disappear. His identity stayed intact, only minded. And that loss is profound. That loneliness is crushing. That is isolation. So, If you are reading this and feeling isolated, if you've lost your friends and you're lonely, even though you're surrounded by family, you're not alone in feeling alone. This happens to so many women. This is part of what becoming a wife costs us. And nobody talks about it. Nobody warns us. Nobody acknowledges the loss. But it's real. And it matters. And you're allowed to grieve it. You're allowed to miss your friends. You're allowed to miss the person you were when you had them. You're allowed to be angry that you lost them while he kept his. I miss my friends. I miss the person I was with them. I miss being known as me, not just as someone's wife. And I'm angry that this loss is treated as normal, as inevitable, as just part of being a wife. It's not. It's a choice society made for us, and it's not fair. Alright, that's it for today. Next time, we're talking about why does everyone call me mom now? When you stop being a person with a name and become just a role. Until then, remember, you didn't sign up to lose yourself when you got married. You didn't sign up to lose your friends, and you are allowed to miss them. This is why I hate being a wife. I'm your host, and I'll see you next time. Take care.